Hey, good afternoon, and welcome along to the studio. That's where we are, back at East Midlands Airport, and a very, very good afternoon. Welcome along to the show. You're with Stu Bear in the chair, and wherever you're watching this, I wish you a really good afternoon. And hey, without further ado, I'm going to start the show, all right? And what we're going to go back to last June, the very beginning of June. I'll be throwing in a few other bits and bobs as well, all sorts of stuff coming up over the next, however long we're actually live for this afternoon. But we're going to hit the button for you right now, so with a bit of luck, let's start things off, and I'll do my best to say hi to as many folks as I possibly can. So, hey, stay with the bear. Let's start things off with a little bit of luck. We should be going back to this.
Team, the Red Arrows!
On a few of these bits, you would have seen a few little snippets on Friday night of the Red Arrows. But what we're going to see now, this is actually the full display from that fantastic Friday evening at the beginning of June.
Over the loop at about 6,000 feet, the smoke's come off. Red 1 squadron leader Tom Bold about to bend the formation to the right. Red 1 is a former Typhoon pilot, and he's instructed on the Tucano and the Hawk T2. He was formerly on the Red Arrows until 2017 and rejoined this year as the team leader. The smoke comes on as Reds 8 and 9 move back in the formation into our iconic Diamond. To the right of Red 1 in Diamond is Red 2, Flight Lieutenant Will Cambridge. Will is a former Tornado GR4 and Typhoon pilot in his second year on the team. In from the right-hand side in Diamond, the nose coming up, the smoke is about to come on for the Diamond roll. Red 1 using a very metronomic cadence in his commands, the pilot's reacting to the tone and rhythm of his voice rather than the movement of his aircraft. As the aircraft pull up to the vertical, Red 1 calls them into Fred. The aircraft moving forwards, changing formation as they go over the top of the loop, forming Feathered Arrow. On the left of Red 1 is Red 3, that's squadron leader Nick Critchell. He'd like to say hello to Matthew and Betty and all the family who are here at their first air show this year. Rich previously flew the Typhoon and was an instructor on the Hawk T2 before joining the Red Arrows. And roll, calls Red 1. Everyone putting their inputs in, reacting to the team leader's voice as we roll the very wide Big Vixen shape. Aboard, calls Red 9 very quietly as 8 and 9 start to roll around the rest of the formation. Watch now as Red 1 bends the formation to the left. The red and blue smoke comes on at 8 and 9. This is Tornado. Aircraft pulling to the vertical, the white smoke on, Red 1 about to roll to the left, the aircraft coming over the top. Get your cameras ready for the hammer break. Break, break, go, calls Red 1 into the hammer. Now keep your eyes on the aircraft staying low over the horizon. It's Reds 6 and 7 being followed by Reds 8 and 9 tipping in for the first of their opposition passes. Leading the back section is Red 6 Squadron Leader John Bond. John has previously instructed on the Tucano and flown the Typhoon on the front line, and he's in his 4th year on the team. In from the left and right, Reds 6 and 8, 7 and 9 for the spectacular Jippo Pass. The red and blue smoke coming away from us as they roll and pull up from roller coasters to make way for the rest of the formation. Now in from the right hand side, Red 8, the white smoke on, turning hard across to the front. The white smoke comes on, Red 6 and 7 pulling away from each other, starting their way down in the beautifully symmetrical heart. Keep your eyes peeled up to the top left for Red 9. As he descends steeply towards the heart, his white smoke about to come on to form the spear. Spearing the heart, Red 9 is Squadron Leader Steve Morris. Steve has previously flown the Harrier GR9, the Tornado GR4, and has instructed on the Hawk. Smoke on, ready for up barrel. At the bottom in line astern is Red 4. That's Flight Lieutenant James Turner. JT has previously flown the Typhoon and instructed on the Hawk. He's in his 2nd year on the team. The aircraft have now moved into reverse battle. Normally odd numbers on the left, even numbers on the right. They're the wrong way round in this formation, so they're going to switch back to the right side through slalom. The aircraft back on their correct side now, and as a tribute to the NHS and the healthcare workers across the UK that have been fighting the pandemic throughout the last 2 years, Enid about to put the blue smoke on as they come past in battle.
Well, I certainly know somebody that will be definitely enjoying this, bringing back great memories of last June. An absolutely brilliant evening. In fact, it was a great weekend. I was with my good friend Maurice. Maurice is in the chat room right now. Maurice, hope you're having a good afternoon. And throughout the autumn and winter months and early spring, what I'll be doing, I'll probably be doing maybe a couple of live shows a week in the afternoon, so you can just literally put your feet up and enjoy some great action. And of course, hey, don't forget every Friday night the 7 o'clock show. But this afternoon, as I said, look at this. This is my favourite manoeuvre. I played this a little bit on Friday night. Here we go.
The aircraft crossing feet away from each other, the chip over it left and right, Red 6 and 7 about to barrel.
It always looks better when you're bang on show centre, and that's luckily where we were this time.
Crossbow. Red and blue as they enter the...
Where was the nice jet? Well, as memory serves me correctly, I think it was stuck on the ground, either at Fairford or Bryce Norton. It was at one of them, because that's where they were transiting that particular weekend.
2, 3, 4 and 9.
But one of the aircraft actually had a bit of a technical.
A formation called...
And then after that, for quite a bit of this season, one of the pilots was quite ill for a while, so it took quite a while until we actually saw a 9 ship. In fact, it took all the... For me to see the first 9 was at Odeum for their Family's Day in August.
As needed. Going to the second of their barrel rolls. Red 6 and 7 are positioning themselves behind us in Boomerang. To our left and right, look straight ahead. It's time for the display finale. Red 1 about to put the coloured smoke on. The nose lights coming towards us. Ready for the spectacular Vixen break. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time this year, you've been watching the Red Arrow!
Oh, and it's certainly fantastic to see them. Anyway, it was pretty good to see these as well, because it's not just an air show; it's a total spectacular. It's not just they flying in the sky, but they have these hot air balloons as well. I think they had around about 100, just over 100 hot air balloons, and the weather conditions on the Friday night were absolutely perfect. You can tell by the trees there was absolutely no wind whatsoever.
And actually then continue with the other part of
it was beautiful and warm. And it was something to see. Just like this. Now, we saw a little bit of this on Friday night, but not at this particular show. We actually featured some from Western Park on Friday night, but this was from, as you're looking at, that's what it's all about tonight. Oh, should I say this afternoon, the Midlands Air Festival. It's that Grub-powered glider. But anyway, while you're watching this, let's see who's in the chat room today. Tell you what, let's start from the top, see who was there. And we've got Donnie Palmer, Keith B, Maria Lane, SHGP Media saying afternoon all. We also have Max saying hello, Stu Bear. And hi to my good friend over there in the USA, that's Barry West. Alison Bowers is with us, Awash, Jim Gemmell, Claire Lothian, Pirate of the Missouri. We also have Mason Jason Aviation says, hello Stu, long time no see. Yeah, hopefully we'll see you out and about at some point, I'm sure. Sarah, a good afternoon to you, or good morning where you probably are. And also we've got Jim Gemmell. Of course, we mentioned him earlier because he was with me on this fantastic weekend. That's our good friend Maurice Moon. We have Carl as well, Carl Scheel, Jake Jackson, William Apps. Yeah, William, we're going back to June, the first weekend in June. And don't forget, this show is going to be on again at the very, very beginning of June. So, hey, get those tickets. Have a look. Check it out. It's called the Midlands Air Festival. Ed. Hello, Ed. Good to see you as well. Thank you for putting the message in the chat room. Mike B. Julie. Hey. We've got Julie with us as well. And, hey, lots of people joining us. And no matter where you're watching this, if you're watching it on Facebook as well, a very, very good afternoon. And watching this over on Facebook, saying hi to, it's Alan. Hello, Alan. Good to see you. Nice one, Awash. He is going flying. Well, as you fly over East Mids, just dip the wings and say hi to the bear. Also on the messages over here on YouTube, A special mention going out, saying hi to John. Hello, John. That's John Bullen. Oh, Max, if you're enjoying the fireworks coming off this aircraft, you should definitely check out a little bit of last Friday night's show from Western Park. That is just amazing. But keep watching. We've got Otto coming up in a minute. What's Otto? You're going to find out. It'll be some crazy flying with the one and only Brendan O'Brien in Otto the helicopter. That's coming up in just a moment.
And there we go.
Here it is.
Brendan O'Brien.
The mentions coming. Good afternoon to Lee Horton. Good afternoon, Lee. Shane Smith's with us. Ed, this is something definitely for your calendar for next year. Put this show in. It's the first weekend in June. And you've got no excuses because everybody's got, I think it's a 4-day holiday that particular weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Well, that's if you're in the UK celebrating the Queen. So no excuses. And I've been actually looking on the website for the Midlands Air Festival next year, and some of the hot air balloons they've got lined up are absolutely brilliant.
Phones out and give him a good wave as well. He's going to be looking at you. He'll be seeing your phones waving, and the more you wave your phones, the better the surprise at the end of his show will be. So wave, 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 get your phones out. If you haven't got your phones out now, get them out. He can see you.
And as it starts to get darker, they start to light up these amazing hot air balloons. Lighten them up. It's like switching bulbs on. Watch this. And that is all we've got time for that particular section, but that is the Midlands Air Festival, and it's, as I said, the first weekend in June, so check that out, okay? It's certainly worth popping along to. Meanwhile, over the weekend, they had a full air show on the Saturday and on the Sunday. And a couple of the stars of that, well, hopefully I'll be able to bring you some of that right now. This should be the Russian Spitfire.
Restoration by the aircraft's finder, Peter Monk.
And of course, not just the hot air balloons and the flying, but also they have a really spectacular fireworks display as well.
So yes, if you look closely, you will see Soviet red stars on this Spitfire, hence its name. It's also been christened Stalin's Spitfire. It was one that was led. She is also a local lass, having been introduced at the Vickers Armstrong factory at Castle Bromwich. That was on the 4th of August 1944 when she left that, and she was shipped via Murmansk to the 2nd Squadron of the 767th Regiment of the 122nd Division, I hope you're taking notes because questions will be asked, of the Russian Air Force, which was a Spitfire squadron. Unfortunately, she crashed during a dogfight in spring 1945 with just 29 hours on the airframe. Peter giving us a nice topside view there. And thankfully being successful in purchasing her. The aircraft then returned to the UK by a circuitous route, and she was then acquired by Angie Soper, who very sadly passed away within the last couple of weeks. She was famous for her Yak 11 display. So what came to the UK was a complete, although crashed, aircraft with the fuselage, large sections of the wings. Peter also flies the only Mark 11 Spitfire photo reconnaissance version that's in the UK, and also the P-51 Mark. The finished articles often have variable numbers of original parts, but it's good. But Peter is a stickler for originality. And luckily has the passion and the funds to ensure that the aircraft are restored to as original a condition as possible.
So now you know all about the Russian Spitfire, with many thanks to the brilliant commentary team there. So well done, guys, and what a great display. More great displays coming up in just a moment. Just before I get to the next item, hey, let's keep the chat room going. So, hey, who else have we got in there? We got Joe Snake. and we have Shane Smith. Who else can we say to hi to? We've got Dickie McVitie. Hello, Dickie McVitie. Good to see you as well, my man. And Jim Gemmell, and everybody is in the chat room. Can't believe it. Where does everybody come from? It's absolutely amazing. West London Transport and Wildlife is also with us. Ed Caldwell, yep. He's definitely going to this show next year, definitely. All right, we're going to keep the show rolling. Going to stay with the Midlands Air Festival with this next item, and with a bit of luck. I say bit of luck because everything I'm playing today is literally straight off the hard drive. It's not been put together all neatly like a Friday night show. It's literally just all thrown in the pan, and whatever comes out, hey, it should be as I say, but you never know. It could be something different. But with a bit of luck, this should be the Typhoon display. It was its first display, and of course, where else? Like I just said, the Midlands Air Festival. Am I sort of promoting this well enough for next year, hey? Because this is the sort of thing you're going to look forward to seeing. Anyway, let's roll the video.
Revealing, as we've already discussed this year's Flying the Flag Livery scheme. The design was created as a collaboration between the team and a Eurofighter enthusiast, Adam Johnson. Adam also designed the Gina livery for the 75th BOB anniversary, which you may remember. Onto the A-axis. Again, in from the right, he's going to conduct knife edge manoeuvring. At 9G, air is being forced into his G-suit, compressing his muscles, trying to keep the blood from draining from his head. Here's the on-crowd, gear down barrel roll. Back down the line. Setting up for the slow speed pass. The Eurofighter ground speed to probably, as it's into wind, below 100 knots. It looks as though the aircraft's just hanging in the air. Nose held high, he's running 24. Back on the crowd on the 45. A half Cuban with 540 aileron bolts. And then a half horizontal back down into the max rate turn. turn, Sainty is unable to even lift his arms at all. And into the corkscrew. The Eurofighter has a hand-on throttle 6 system though, which means Sainty can completely safely control the aircraft, even though he can't lift his arms. The G applied to his body will now make him weight equivalent to a Formula One racing car. Into the knife edge pass, then invert, and then push again. And it can be quite painful. On crowd back onto the B, into the quarter clover, Sainty's hardest manoeuvre. Technically difficult to get the exact 90-degree turn as he rolls into the full backstick, burners on, he's going to exit the display. Back home to his Midlands. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the 2021 Royal Air Force Typhoon display.
That was superb.
It certainly was superb, absolutely brilliant. Hey, well, we're going to have a quick word with a couple of people, and as he's in the chat room right now, let's see what this guy's got to say.
Hi, it's Steve from SHGP Virtual Aviation, and you are watching Airshow World with Stu Bear.
Yep.
I just love him. I love him to bits. I tell you what, we've got one more coming up for you right now, because this man is also in the chat room. Come on, Dickie.
Hi folks, this is Dickie McVitie from the chat room. Yes, the mad bloke. Sorry about that. Just to say you're watching Airshow World with the one and only Stu Bear.
Hi, my name's Julia, and here I am at the Victory Show. I work with the veterans, and you're watching Airshow World with Stu Bear.
Hey, thank you very much. And it's the Victory Show we go to right now.
Keeps the fumes, it gets very hot, and it fills with exhaust fumes.
When I saw you were in the chat room, Dickie, it just had to be done. It's one of these things. It's got to be done, mate. Because this is totally live. What I'm playing you today is whatever I think about. And I also noticed SHGP was there, so I thought, yeah, we've got to embarrass him as well. Alison Bowes says, hey, well, it's nice to add faces to names. It certainly is. And don't forget, hey, like last year, at the end of November, beginning of December, I'll be asking you guys to why not do what you did last year. If you don't know what that was, we got quite a few of you, and your little task last year was to send a Christmas greeting in. It's too early for that at the moment, but I don't like to mention the C word at the moment. But yes, when we get to the end of November, I'll be certainly asking you guys to, just in front of your phones or whatever, just to send a simple message across. But I'll tell you more about that at the end of November. In the chat room right now, we also have Angie. Hello, Angie Ward. Great to see you. Kevin. We also have Big Joel, I think it is. So lots of people joining us from literally all over the world, wherever you're watching this. If you're watching it on YouTube, if you're watching it on Facebook, it's fantastic to have your company on this Monday afternoon with Stu Bear. Hiya, Vinny. Well, hey, we're live as far as the chat room and, of course, Stu Bear's concerned. If you have a look, it says Monday afternoon, live from the studio, 25th of October. And, of course, it's heading towards 2 o'clock, around about 7 minutes to 2 on this Monday afternoon. And great to have your company. And, Vinny, what we're doing is literally playing stuff from that I've filmed over the last few months from the summertime. And right now what we're going to do, and of course saying hi to all the great people in the chat rooms, not just over here on the YouTube, but also keep popping across to Facebook. So if you're watching it on Facebook, certainly put a message into the chat that's on there, or just a message underneath a comment, and I'll do my best to say hi to you. Meanwhile, what we're going to do, we're going to go back to another great show. It really was, and it was at the end of August, and next year they are going to be really pulling the stops out because it's their 30th anniversary. And hey, say no more, but Little Gransden, I showed a little tiny clip of a few bits on the Friday night show. Right now we're going to see an extended version. You can't beat an extended version. That's what we've got coming up for you right now. So we go back with Little Gransden back to the end of August, and
ladies and gentlemen, boys
like
and
this.
girls, if you want to cast your eyes out to the left, you'll hopefully, up in the sky there, catch a glimpse of the 4 chipmunks running in. Ladies and gentlemen, we give you the Red Sparrows.
Well, Vinny, it's great to have your company, and thank you for joining us, and thanks to you for subscribing to Show World. Lisa Barker, hello to you as well.
Year for chipmunks being the 75th anniversary.
Grumpy, how's Grumpy? RC Flyer.
By de Havilland, Canada, and it took to the skies on the 22nd of May, 1946. And after that, the rest is history, because it got great interest.
We also have Tom Cousins, Shane Smith, and everybody else, wherever you are. Enjoy this.
4 different chipmunks up there. We have 2 in the traditional favourite red and white colour scheme. We have the Canadian one, which is bright yellow. You can't miss that one. And leading them, we have the silver. to things like the harvest. Sparrow number 3 is the other lovely red-white one. That's Gold Copper Foxtrot Alpha Whiskey, and that's being flown by Tom Turner. This aircraft was part of the team that took Merlins over Malta, and they took a Hurricane and a Spitfire back to the land of island of Malta. Thinking just how easy it is to get up in an aeroplane and fly around in the sky with your friends. Well, let me tell you, it's actually very difficult flying formation. The leader, in this case the silver one, is the eyes and ears for the team. He's the lookout, and he's the one that makes sure his wingmen keep safe. All the other pilots, they're not looking at their instruments, they're looking at their leader. And Phil here is leading them in for their last pass in a lovely line and astern formation. Ladies and gentlemen, eyes in front of you, cameras at the ready. As we give you the Red Sparrows break. Let's give him a big round of applause and a thumbs up. Thank you, Nigel.
And at this particular show, I tell you, they get very, very close when they are taxiing past. So if you like to be close to the aircraft when they are taxiing next to you, I certainly recommend it. It's a brilliant, fantastic show. And next year, as I said, they are really going to be pulling the stops out because it is their 30th anniversary, and it's going to be on the 28th of August.
Lycoming engine. Also, a propeller optimised for aerobatics.
Now this is something special.
Bringing it through there on the knife edge, and he'll now be accelerating.
Good afternoon there, photo for you. Good to see you as well.
This display in this aeroplane incorporates a number of manoeuvres that Rich performed in the past with the...
Dickie McVitie, we'll see you later, my man. Thank you for joining us.
Incarnation, taking things a step further still.
Is he going to do it spinny thing again?
Again, an incredible roller. One way, then the other. Further development since then. Display aerobatic flying to this day, really showing us something of the speed of this modified S2S model as Rich runs in and pulls vertical for a climbing rolling tower.
We talked earlier about the Yak 50 and the Cap T32 being very influential in World Aerobatic Championships. Well, in the 60s, 70s and even into the early 80s, various models of the pits were still very, very competitive, particularly with the US team.
Yes, indeed, and it's from that era that we remember so many great pits aerobatic teams, the likes of the Rothmans team, the Marlborough team, the Royal Jordanian Falcons, all mounted on the pits. partnership very important to Rich too, as he goes about his business on the display circuit. An engineering company called Anana is his main title sponsor, and they're helping fund the development of the jet pits, the ultimate biplane, as Rich calls it. Rich himself took up aerobatics initially through the competition world, before joining the display circuit a few years ago. The competition aerobatic flying, of course, Keith, a very different discipline in many ways to display flying, isn't it?
Very much so. It's like, I guess you compare it with dancing. You've got the freestyle form of dancing and the traditional competitive ball of dancing. What the guys do today is very much...
So many great messages coming in today. So many great people. Love you to bits, everybody.
Entertaining the audience.
So who else can we say hi to? Becky Davis is also with us. Hiya, Becky. Nice to see you. Jim Gemmell. Just listen to the sound of that aircraft. Absolutely brilliant.
Rich Goodwin with the Pitts S2S.
Oh yes, a round of applause, definitely.
And while Rich positions downwind to land, after that's from them waving at him.
And as you can see again, getting very, very close. And I definitely recommend this show for next year. Of course, we'll be there.
And when the night is new, I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing you. In everything that's light and gay, I'll always think of you that way. I'll find you in the morning sun, and when the night is new, I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing you.
Yes, just one part of the D-Day Darlings, and they're normally there every year, performing, singing, and they go all around the country touring. And they're even in the finals. I'll tell you in a minute. Yes, and they're even in the finals of Britain's Got Talent a few years ago.
For tomorrow, we gave our today. Thank you for your time.
And that's something they tend to do every year, and it's quite emotional, and hey, to get that timing right. Which they certainly do, and they certainly did get the timing perfect for this Spitfire.
having just mentioned the Lancaster, it's worth saying that former Bomber Command pilot George Dunn, recipient both of the DFC, the Distinguished Flying Cross, and France's Légion d'Honneur, who flew Handley Page Halifaxes and de Havilland Mosquitoes on 44 operations during World War II, is with us today. A very warm welcome, George. And he's signing copies of his book entitled Resolute on the Fighting High stand, and 10% of all sales go towards children in need. So do go along and buy that, and do indeed otherwise do what you can to support children in need here at Little Gransden today, because that's what this event is all about.
And ladies and gentlemen, to your right, something very different, a new perspective.
Yeah, that's very well put indeed, Keith, and the perspective is one of the really interesting things about this display, because it is very easy at times to confuse the full-size extra and the 41% scale model. The 41% scale model actually has an extra passenger on board today because Pudsey Bear is in the cockpit. Generally flies that much closer to the crowd than the full-size aircraft, and that's why it can sometimes be possible to mix the two up. There goes the full-size extra EA300S with Chris Burkitt at the controls, and following it off down the grass we have the 41% scale model. Ratio of the full-size aircraft is about 0.75 to 1, which is impressive enough. The scale model has a thrust-to-weight ratio of 2.5 to 1, which means it is truly able to come to the hover and to perform some of the more extreme high angle of attack manoeuvres that are coming up in a little while. And all the while, just as he would if he had another full-size aircraft in formation with him, Chris is calling the shots to Mike over the radio. And this is a display that's become so well practiced over the years, and of course it's now complemented by the car schemes, because they now match as well. The livery of the Global Stars team. That model, built by a company called Krill, it's just under 3 metres long and just over 3 metres in wingspan. It costs £6,500. And when it shows us what it can do on its own, it's able to hang on the propeller at just between 30 and 50% throttle. It doesn't entirely replicate the full-size original. The design's been tweaked in a few ways in order for it to be able to perform some of the more absolutely extreme manoeuvres, the sort of post-stall manoeuvres. Look at them performing those synchronised. In for a break, towards each other. Incredible strength in the extras airframe, not least from the carbon fibre that makes up a good proportion of its construction. Very light and very strong. That's exactly what you need for an aircraft like this. Chris has just called the join up. So Mike trying to match their speed as best they possibly can. Chris Burkitt. Programme today, which is going to be running through it, all goes to plan until before 5:30.
Well, there's Chris Burkitt taxiing the full size in. But in just a moment, we'll have a quick mention from
Well, the next two items.
This very, very man. So hey, stay with it. With a bit of luck, we should get a message coming up. Let's see what we can do.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Mike Williams. I'm one part of the extra Little and Large duo team, and I actually pilot the 40% extra. You are watching Airshow World with Stu Bear.
You certainly are. Very, very many thanks for that. And hey, can we get another quick mention coming up in just a moment? I think we can just about manage that in just a second, because we were also went to many places just recently and met some great people. And hey, over the weekend you're probably watching a little bit of the motor racing. Unfortunately, though, this particular young man was not able to take part at Brands Hatch whatsoever, but hey, we should get a message from him.
Go.
Hi, I'm Rick Buffett Jr. and you are watching Airshow World.
Nice one. Hey, it's time to get back to the flying, so let's hit this button.
The part played in the development of aviation by one of the most famous names in British engineering. I'm talking about Rolls-Royce. That much was typified by their very sleek, very high performance Spitfire marks, of which the last in wartime was this PR-19, which came into service in 1944, powered by a Rolls-Royce Griffon 65 engine of more than 2,000 horsepower. Horsepower. Things moved a long way very quickly during the war. And this aircraft is a late war veteran. It was delivered to the RAF Central Photographic Reconnaissance Unit at Benson in Oxfordshire, the home of so many RAF photo recce activities in wartime. In January 1945, it was stationed in both Belgium and the Netherlands with number 16 Squadron on PR operations. And it was one of the Spitfires that took part in the famed Operation Crossbow missions, seeking out the German Vengeance weapons V1 and V2 sites that would then be the subject of Allied air attack.
Hey, by the way, if you like your motor racing, I would definitely recommend watching a replay, if you can find it on ITV Hub, of yesterday's British Touring Car Championship. It was brilliant.
Historic aircraft.
I won't give the game away, apart from the fact that Rick Parfitt Jr. didn't take part on the second race, but definitely well worth watching. The fact that they were still racing in almost total darkness, it was brilliant. I really enjoyed watching it.
And it's been with them ever since, for nearly 25 years now.
And in a moment, hopefully, we'll be able to have a quick message from Colin himself.
They got no shots on target, no block shots, 2 shots on target, 3 offsides. The most things that they got were 7 goals. Oh no, they got 12 and they crossed the ball 4 times and the City crossed the ball 28 times. Yeah.
P51D Mustang. Fighters for the Royal Air Force. Selected the, at that stage, still to fly North American design over the likes of the already well proven Curtiss P40, and how right a decision that proved. When the aircraft took to the air and first entered service, it was powered by the Allison V1710 engine. And while it was an excellent airframe, and the Allison was a very dependable power plant, and it, in Allison engine form, was an outstanding mount at low level in the Army cooperation and
making sure we don't neglect our friends over there on Facebook. Thank you, everybody, wherever you're watching this. Wherever you are in the world, it's great to have your company. And don't forget, Airshow World is literally all over Facebook. There's the main Airshow World page that you're probably watching this on right now. There's also Airshow World videos. And of course, last but not least, the famous Airshow World fan page. And that's where you can put your own photographs, your own videos, all sorts of stuff. So certainly check those 3 out right now. Grazie, absolutely. And we're going to see that in just a moment, but with a little bit of luck, we should have a quick message from our good friend, Colin Turkington. I'm not going to say what happened with Colin Turkington at all yesterday. All I'm going to say, if you like your motor racing, you make sure you watch it. Anyway, let's see what we can do.
Hi, I'm Colin Turkington. You're watching Airshow World.
You certainly are watching Airshow World, and we've got a few more mentions coming up just a little bit later. Meanwhile, back to the flying.
I saw it at East Kirkby the other week.
Did you? All right.
Thank you.
There's a guy in the background mentioning East Kirkby. And that's another Airshow. I will certainly be
so does this. The very elegant.
I will certainly be covering next year. Oh, Julie, you should have watched the race yesterday, though, the Formula One. Now, that is a great racetrack.
Oh, yes, very nice.
Those corners, goodness gracious, how do they get round? I mean, I must admit, yeah, I do love my Formula One.
You really can see there just what sleek lines this aircraft.
But watching the British touring car, well, the action was brilliant.
Dead Air Force Base and learned to fly combat, which was a real experience.
But I just think it's the G-forces they're pulling, especially at Austin, Texas yesterday. It was just incredible.
Right in the gun sights in front of you, the temptation is just to keep pulling and
for 2 hours,
which is what I did, and I failed to unload it.
And then they get out the car, and they don't look too bad at all, do they? One of the drivers, Perez, his actual drink bottle packed up on the first lap, so he had to do the whole race without any drink or anything. Goodness me, just think of that.
Very popular Lycoming 0540 engine of 260 horsepower, hence the name SF260. And Stelvio Frati's very aerodynamic airframe make for a very efficient aircraft. It can cruise at 180 knots. It's got 1,100 nautical miles range, which is aided by those tip tanks carrying extra fuel. And all this in an aircraft that first appeared in 1964. And this example is one of the oldest around. In fact, it's the oldest one still flying. It was first registered in Italy in 1966.
But despite its beautiful lines and futuristic looks, it's actually more than 50 years old, and that's quite spectacular. Those lines 50 years ago must have been something quite extraordinary.
Yes, particularly on the private owner market, at whom this aircraft was also targeted.
Yes, I mean the military would have been on side with it, but as you say, private owners would have been looking at this and drooling.
Yes, indeed. It's something very different from what was being turned out by a lot of other manufacturers at the time.
Yes, the idea of metal aeroplanes with round engines up front, lots of noise, lots of fuel burn, and then you get a chance to fly one of these. And the handling characteristics are absolutely beautiful.
Paul Freeland bought this aircraft in 2014, having learned to fly for his 40th birthday. And he's had the aircraft registered as GRAZI, Grazie, his Italian thank you to those who have helped him on his way to become a display pilot, an ambition he achieved in 2018. So you don't need to be a military test pilot with thousands of hours to join the display scene. It's perfectly open to the talented private pilot with a suitable aeroplane and the suitable levels of ability.
And also willing to put in the effort and the hours to make it happen, and to have a mind that's willing to learn from all sorts of good people around you.
Exactly right, and that's what everyone who makes it on the display circuit has done. They've, as you say, put that time in and just learned like a sponge from everyone they've experienced on the circuit. Not just a trainer and tourer of this aircraft, but also a light attack aeroplane with armed versions of the SF260, practical, affordable combination for formation fast and individual displays afterwards with the Pratt & Whitney engine, 2-seat gas screen that's going to be joining us in the overhead. Then we've got the Global Stars team incorporating fantastic solo display in the extra EA330SC, and then the Tiger 9 to close the show, taking us up. There goes the Gypsy Hair. That's a reference to the fact.
And you see the little red and orange aircraft. Well, I tell you what, just before we get to that, we're going to have a quick message from that very pilot right now.
Hi, I'm Christophe Simon. I'm a display pilot in the UK and I'm showcasing the Mudry Captain. You're watching Airshow World with Stu Bear.
And Christoph is literally just about to taxi out. Not this one. It was the one before.
10 getting airborne. That is.
And you're going to see that Cap 10 aircraft displaying in just a moment.
And meantime, Paul Freeland
with Christoph Simon, and in fact one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, and in fact he'll be joining us on a future show in the future obviously, not going back to the future, that's what we're doing now. But no, seriously, we're actually going to do a piece with him, and he's going to join us one evening as well. So hey, that's something we're definitely looking forward to. So keep on tuned to Airshow World. Well, you never know, Julie. I might even get you to do the interview with him, you know? Hey, that'd be cool, wouldn't it? And no going weak at the knees either. I know he's French, you know, and I know he's got a great voice, but you know, you're going to have to control yourself, dear.
Fascinating. It began before World War II when a company called Taylorcraft Aeroplanes England obtained a license to build and market the Taylorcraft family of light aeroplanes. The first of them to be built in the UK was called the Plus C. That was because the Air Ministry recognised that this small, slow-flying but very agile light aeroplane could operate in what was called the Air Observation Post role, providing over-the-horizon artillery spotting to the British Army and other Allied forces.
Hey, West London, Transport and Wildlife, don't let us put you off your schoolwork, alright? Whatever you do. You get that essay done, alright? We'll catch you later. The one and only Mac Cat Lady is with us. How are you today?
The Chipmunk, meanwhile, used Navy historic flight, and we'll be talking more about them later on when we have one of their aircraft on display.
Indeed, and as Debbie Dunlop mentioned earlier with the Red Sparrows, this year is the 75th anniversary of the Chipmunk.
And of course, as I'm sure you remember, was it just a week after this or 2 weeks? Unfortunately, one of those aircraft actually went into Poole Harbour. But thankfully, both the pilot and the lady, crazy lady on top of the wing, apart from a few minor injuries, they were okay. Thank goodness for that.
And hopefully in September we're finally going to get a big 7 and 5 together to celebrate correctly.
Yes, there's an absolutely legendary name still. Back to 1973.
Here we go. Here's the man himself,
refurbished in
Christoph Simon.
To this absolutely beautiful standard, put into the characteristic markings of the Tiger Club with the red and yellow sunburst.
Yes, very reminiscent of the old stumps they used to operate.
Yes, exactly. A lovely steep wing rock there, 90 degrees to 90 degrees.
And in the springtime, so I can get more footage, because I haven't got very much footage of Christoph Simon.
Saying farewell, but he is going to
I'm going to spend a whole day doing a film shoot with him in the springtime, and really looking forward to that. Come on, start that engine, look at this.
Well, now it's time for...
By the way, keep the messages coming in. I love reading them. Thank you very, very much.
two of the most experienced.
And by the way, if you're watching this right now and you would like to help Airshow World grow, how on earth do you do that? Well, it's quite simple, really, and I'm going to tell you exactly how you can help Airshow World grow. And hey, we're going to help you as well. It's so easy to do, all right? So we're going to tell you about that right now. Hi, it's Stu Bear from Airshow World, and I'm very proud to announce our sponsor, the Kent and Sussex Tea and Coffee Company. And for viewers of Airshow World, you can get 15% off from the world's best tea and coffee company. Plus, you'll be helping Airshow World grow. Just use the code Airshow. That's the Kent and Sussex Tea and Coffee Company. And of course, it's absolutely free to take part in the chat room. It's free to watch Airshow World. Sometimes some really kind people put donations in, but it is absolutely free. And hey, we give something back as well for you guys. So if you like your tea and coffee and you want to help Airshow World, that's the place to get the tea and coffee. You can see it in the chat room right now. At the top, you see pinned to the very, very top, there's a link, takes you straight there. And also, you can get 15% off. You know the score. It's that easy. You just use that code, Airshow. Meanwhile, let's get back to the flying. And that's what we're here for on this Monday afternoon with Stu Bear. It's great to have your company.
And then puts it on.
And apart from being the coolest, draftiest location during the display, the two girls on top of the wings of the by, the girls, like the aircraft, are usually in formation, whether they're upside down, right way around, or whatever they're doing.
Yes, using the swiveling rig that Aerosmith
It's a wacky rabbit.
developed.
But it's not on the runway. But it will be in a minute.
The two girls on the wings today are Kirsten Popjoy on the lead aircraft and Libby Dover-Smith flying on.
Hey, Hayden! That's what we call him. We call him Hayden. And he's a great guy as well. We saw him last week down there at Mildenhall. I hope you had a great day.
Orange livery of Aerosmith.
We were there until it got dark, until the moon appeared.
With a title sponsor. Whereas the second aeroplane,
But we'll give him his proper title. That's Hotel 4 Yankee Delta 3 November Juliet Tango Oscar 6. What a mouthful! That's why we call him Hayden.
As I said, Dave leading the pair, and we're very privileged.
Also, good afternoon to our very own Clive Jones.
Founded this team, one of the great.
You know Clive. He flies out, gets those fantastic footage for us from his brilliant drone flying.
Cameras ready.
And we featured him on Friday night.
Fantastic view.
And I'll guess the location feature.
Up there, there's no doubt, but as Keith was saying, it is extremely.
And that's Friday night. It was pretty easy, really, because if you were watching carefully, we gave it away because there was a sign saying Ventnor. But still, people got it wrong.
Those young ladies are.
That's it. You got to watch carefully on a Friday night.
They do. When you look at their CVs and their interests, a lot of them are into things like gymnastics and yoga. Circus arts and so forth. Sorry, Keith, yes.
Yes, they certainly are, but more importantly, they are completely enthusiastic. They love their jobs. Absolutely love them. Here they come from the left. And from the right.
Coming in across the display centre.
Well, Hayden, hope you have a great time up there later in the week. I'm actually back at base now, right back here at East Midlands Airport, and back in the studio.
Still sponsored by Utterly Butterly, one of the many sponsorship incarnations they've been through over the years. They were the Crunchy Flying Circus for a long time, then Utterly Button, Team Gino, and the Windwalkers.
Hey, nice one there, Kevin. Well, we look forward to seeing some of your video. You know where to. You're more than welcome to share some of that actually on the Airshow World fan page, and I'm sure everybody will be over the moon to see it. They certainly are, they, Grumpy. Make that amazing sound when they take off.
With his Pitts S2S, he's going to be heading back to
down at Earl's Cone. And if you fancy riding in the back of one, it's one of 2 places in the UK, I think, maybe more, but certainly their website at Earl's Cone is worth a look.
This aircraft was originally developed by Stinson Aircraft of Wayne in Michigan as an affordable and rugged cabin monoplane. The first model, the 4-seat SR Reliant, appeared in 1933 when it cost just under $4,000 new. It proved an immediate sales success with private owners, corporate customers and commercial operators.
Hey, well, thank you, Shane.
Updated. The first few models, up to the SR6, had a straight wing, but then from the SR7 to the ultimate SR.
Well, Shane, I must admit, I really did enjoy doing this particular show.
Configuration of design that we see on this one, which was
and because of this video, we've been invited back next year, and I will be covering this show for definite next year. Over August the 28th. That's the day. That's a very special day, isn't it, Clive? August the 28th.
At the time, it was very much a gentleman's aerial carriage. It was quality. It was almost the business jet of today.
And as we mentioned earlier in the show, at Little Gransden next year, it's going to be their 30th anniversary. So it's something not to miss.
Military purposes. The US Army Air Corps and Army Air Forces of World War II impressed civil reliance, mostly as the UC-81 utility transport, and then came the AT-19, which was developed for the Fleet Air Arm of the Royal Navy as a navigation trainer known as the Reliant 1. Final pass from the Reliant.
You've got to watch that autocorrect, haven't you, hey? Oh, the amount of times that's got me into trouble, I can tell you. Ooh, Julie, look what we have now.
Stearman Cadet on display with the Aero Superbatics Wingwalkers. This was the aircraft that successful trainees would hopefully move on to at the advanced stage of their instruction as pilots, following on from the primary element. an enormously valuable advanced trainer. Valuable in the sense that it proved a vital asset to the United States military, including Commonwealth forces during World War II. But today, probably about as sought after as it's ever been, with the rise in warbird experience flying.
But it's a very capable aircraft in its own right, but it's also a superb training platform. It demonstrated it during the war, when Commonwealth RAF and Commonwealth pilots trained overseas and then came to the UK and converted to single-seat fighters, something which is being mirrored today by warbird pilots.
And not least by this very example, named Wacky Rabbit.
Wacky Rabbit. Good afternoon, John Robinson. How are you?
Many new warbird pilots in recent times, and among them
also hi to Robert,
Hurricane B7497 that will be
Becky Davis,
in the programme.
And also hi to Phil Tovey.
I guess it says a lot for a design if 80 years after it made its first flight, serving the same purpose it was originally designed to achieve all those years ago.
And that was apparent right from the start in 1938 when the first Harvards, albeit so well known did North American aviation become for aircraft like that?
Well, John, I'm back down here at East Mids, back in the studio after that fantastic few weeks away with Coningsby and then Mildenhall, and yeah, it's great to be back.
Inexperienced company, and so in some respects, placing such a big order for Harvards, as we know the type, the T6 Texan and AT6 Texan to the US Army Air Forces, or the SNJ to the US Navy, might have been seen as being a bit of a gamble, but not so.
No, indeed, so successful was it, not just with this, but with other subsequent designs. North American had to redirect their production. The Harvard was manufactured in Canada by CCF and elsewhere, just to free up production space elsewhere in North America.
Yeah, absolutely. This, as we say, a CCF built Harvard. Nordine, best known for the Norseman, was another Harvard. Such a good trainer because it shares some of the attributes that you go on to experience with the heavier metal that you hopefully, if successful, progress to fly.
Yeah, there is a school of thought actually that says these are not the easiest aeroplanes to fly. And I've heard a number of Mustang pilots say that if you've done 10 hours in a Mustang, you're ready to go solo in a T6, which I think
yes, you could also fit them with guns and practice bombs and so forth for armament training.
Yes, they were used by a certain number of extreme air forces.
Oh, John, it is a great thing, isn't it? Hey, you look out the window and seeing the jumbo jets. And, yep, I certainly saw one this morning. I think it was around about 10 o'clock it took off, and brilliant.
Used them a lot in Algeria as counterinsurgency aircraft.
But John Bradley says down here at East Midlands Airport last week they had a good old selection.
Version of the T-28, for instance, or the Douglas Sky Raider.
And despite their relative complexity, they were quite easy aircraft for engineers to maintain in pretty rough terrain, so in desert environments.
I like that one, Ed. I love it. Hey, by the way, if you're watching this on Facebook and you wonder who I keep mentioning and what have you, I'm mainly talking to the folks right here in the chat room on YouTube. And if you'd like to take part in the chat room on YouTube, that's where you'll get the better quality picture. You'll be able to up it right up to full HD. And if you subscribe to Airshow World, which is totally free, within 1 minute you'll be able to take part in all the great fun. And I must admit, certainly enjoying it. It's putting a smile on my face, the great messages today, so keep them coming. Well, we've certainly shown Bruce Dickinson's aircraft before. You remember that? Ed Force One that went into East Midlands Airport a few years ago when they had the Download Festival and they were headlining. Wow, what an aircraft! Hey, well, someone's just taken the smartest from that child, haven't they, hey? And it wasn't me, by the way. No, I was too busy filming this. A very good afternoon to you from Stu Bear and everybody with Airshow World. Nice to see you.
Thoroughly enjoyed the sound and the sights of that aeroplane.
Yes, that was a splendid routine by Vedant. Old Warden, May of this year. He's got all the same abilities to bear in flying the Hurricane for us today. A beautiful exhibition.
Now this aircraft coming up in just a moment.
Right, that buzz is...
I featured a little tiny bit of this on Friday. It's coming up, the full version in just a moment.
Miles Aircraft saw the pit. They made it into a twin, gave it twin fins and rudders, and left it in the
Well, a very good afternoon to you, Andy Vint from up there in Scotland. Good to see you. Thank you. Thank you for putting the message in into the chat room right here on YouTube.
Able to take off if performing to its maximum in just 120 yards into a 5 mile an hour headwind, and has a stalling speed of just 35 miles an hour to be completed by other firms. Powering this aircraft, a pair of 100 horsepower Blackburn Cirrus Minor 4-cylinder piston engines, giving it a top speed of some 150 miles an hour at sea level. The Gemini attracted a very wide mix of operators. It found favour with some light charter firms and air taxi operators, as well as other businesses and private owners. Among its famous users was Shell Aviation, which had a Gemini as its corporate aircraft. And that one was flown often around Europe, the Middle East and Africa by no less an individual than Douglas Bader when he was an executive of Shell Aviation. There's another famous name associated with the type. And that's Alex Henshaw, the man who broke the London to Cape Town record in the Percival Mughal in 1939 and then was such a legendary test pilot for Vickers Supermarine during World War II. He worked after the war for Miles Aircraft and ferried one of these Geminis out to the Belgian Congo.
One should also remember how successful they were post-war in air racing, certainly in the late 40s and early 50s, with King's Cup successes in numerous years.
Oh yes, definitely. Nat Summers, one of the great racing pilots of the day, won the 1949 King's Cup in a Gemini with Gypsy Major engines. Fred Dunkley used one with Cirrus Minor engines, but with a more streamlined fuselage and hotted up engines to great effect in air racing, and he would achieve speeds in excess of 170 miles an hour in a Gemini.
When I first started following aeroplanes and cycling to various airfields, one of my home bases was Elstree, and in those days it was full of Miles Messengers and Miles Geminis. And unfortunately, around that time, glue failure became a problem, or wood rot, as it was quite often known. And many of these aeroplanes ended up as bonfires. And it's so sad, which makes this aeroplane very, very rare.
It is. It's currently, I think, well, certainly one of very few in airworthy condition. It was first registered in October 1947. It had a whole succession of private owners since. One of them, a Mr. Clement Spencer Thomas of Hunedon in Bedfordshire, had it from 1948 to 81, and this was raced itself as late as 1981 in the King's Cup, which was held at RAF Finningley that year. aircraft was bought by its current owner, Stu Blanchard, in late 2017. He has become a great miles enthusiast. He's got a rare M48 version of the Messenger and the only airworthy Miles Mercury in his collection, both under restoration.
That Mars Mercury, was it the one that used to be in Stauning, Denmark?
In Denmark, yes indeed, yes.
Yes, beautiful aeroplane.
Yeah. Yes, very much looking forward to seeing that on the scene. In fact, I should be going and seeing it in Stu's workshop next week in Hull. He flies this aircraft with great verve, and it's always been a very sprightly performer, the Gemini, hasn't it?
Very much so, as its air racing history lays out.
I just love that display way back in 1947. Goodness gracious, when that was first built. The wonderful Miles Gemini, beautiful aircraft. And you heard all about it from the fantastic commentary team down there at Little Granston.
Southern France, as well as flying patrol and bomber escort missions. Mark V Spitfires and stayed in Northern Europe when the 31st and 52nd fighter groups went south.
Hey, they're talking about how much to pay to go up in an aircraft at the moment. Is that what they pay me to go in an aircraft? I think that's what they'd have to do. They'd have to pay me $2,750 to go up in one, I tell you.
A combat veteran from its service with the 352nd Fighter Group, part of the US 8th Air Force in East Anglia. Stationed at Bodney, and an airframe that during...
You just know it. You'd say to the pilot, now, yeah, if you could just fly straight and level, you know, no fancy aerobatics. You know, they're just going to have a smile on the face and go, stand by for action and all of that. By the way, Julie, check your messages. Now this was a fantastic display, but unfortunately I wasn't able to put very much of it on because of all the music. It was all copyrighted music, and I thought I'm going to be in trouble there. But it was a brilliant display, and hopefully another occasion I'll be able to get it. But basically it was two Red Arrows models, and they were fantastic, really brilliantly flown.
Businessmen such as himself. The industrialist J. Paul Getty took over the company in 1935, and the following year...
I did actually film more of it, so at some point I will certainly put that together and put some other music over the top, and like I normally do on some of the videos that you saw earlier today, sort of the firework type displays where there's copyright music there. I tend to turn the original music down, put some non-copyright over the top, and that seems to
and some very quick work by
that seems to get away with it, if you like, but
performance with that engine.
That's one of the unfortunate things when you're at an air show. When there's music being played on the tannoy, there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. And of course, YouTube will just go, it's a copyright strike if you don't get rid of it.
In the Transcontinental Bendix Trophy air races across the continental United States, not just aircraft like this, but in fact this very example did so. It took part in the 1938 Bendix Trophy from Burbank, California to Cleveland, Ohio, finishing in 6th position.
It's just another manic Monday for Matt Cat Lady. Hey, Matt Cat Lady, it's just fantastic to see you just spending a few minutes of your time to say hi to us all here in the chat room.
We're around 1,000 attractive
so enjoy
planes we saw.
The rest of the show a little bit later, so it was good to see you. Just like it's great to see Sarah, Ed, Kevin, Julie, Shane, Jessica,
operated from Duxford by
Carl Shield, Jim Gemmell, Clive Jones, and everybody else that's watching this right now on YouTube, and anybody else that might be watching it on a replay wherever you are in the world. You might be watching this on Facebook. Great to have your company. Don't forget the Facebook pages, groups, you name it. Just do a search for Airshow World. There's the Airshow World main page that you're probably watching this on right now, but also Airshow World videos. And of course, the Airshow World fan page, which is a group. And you can join that. And there you can post photographs, videos, all sorts of stuff. And it'll be great to hear from you. And Andy Vint, that's exactly where he came from. He was watching on Facebook. So Andy, great to see you, and thanks for joining us over here on the YouTube.
Part as nutrition replacement to make good earlier combat losses, but this aircraft added to the numbers of fighters lost. When on the 28th of September 1940, after only 7 operational sorties had been notched up, it was shot down over Kent by a Luftwaffe Messerschmitt Bf 109 fighter. The pilot, Pilot Officer E.B. Rogers, survived, taking to his parachute and bailing out successfully. The aircraft crashed, and that could have been the end of the story had it not been many years later excavated and put through a full restoration to flying condition by Hawker Restorations. Took to the air again in the summer of 2018 and is now operated by Hurricane 501, a group that takes its name from the squadron with which this aircraft operated 81 years ago. The aeroplane is owned by a group split three ways. The majority owner is Dr. Peter Kirkpatrick. Also with him in the group, Hawker Restoration still own a share of the aircraft, as does Dr. John Thorogood, son himself of a Second World War Hurricane pilot, and who converted onto this very aeroplane in recent weeks.
I've told you about that dog before. Get down. Yep.
Final pass from the Hurricane 1 V7497.
Hey Ed, with those locks of yours, you certainly need to join that one as well, definitely.
The engine up front today is a Pratt & Whitney Trim Wasp, developing 1,200
Both Julie and myself will be able to give you expert tips on hair, makeup and all that sort of stuff. Not a problem.
License-built version of this engine.
And next time when we see you, Julie says she'll definitely be able to sort your nails out as well.
Sounds absolutely beautiful.
The toenails. Ooh! No, not the toenails, please. Anything. Hey, coming up right now, we've got our good friends. You know them. It's Mark Jeffries. And the brilliant global stars, that's coming up for you. You've seen them at night with the fireworks, but you're going to see in just a moment their full display, and it is absolutely awesome. There's a lot of different display teams that use this particular aircraft. But I've got to admit, I think these are the absolute ultimate. Watch this display.
From this particular,
it is brilliant.
The Capel Aviation in two groups. The first of three with extra.
I thought that would get you going, you guys. Toenails, nothing worse. Oh, there's all sorts of tips I can tell you.
And changing now into trail formation.
Are they backtracking, Daniel? Are they
Getting into a close line astern. There he goes, creating a really
Look at this maneuver. Good afternoon to Oliver Carroll.
of that trail formation.
Thank you, Sarah. She says, loving the show. I'm loving knowing that you're there watching this on a Monday afternoon.
Go, calls Mark Jeffries, and they split apart.
Also, a very good afternoon to Hans, watching from over there in Rotterdam. Also, good afternoon to Peter Provost from Windsor, Ontario, Canada.
I think many of you who are regular attendees at Little Granston are used to seeing the Global Stars and used to seeing Mark Jeffries perform. But please don't become just to say, well, it's just another. It's not. This is pretty special. 4 dissimilar aeroplanes, 4 superb pilots, and a really superb performance of aerobatics at its best.
And one that, as the team's name suggests, has been seen and enjoyed all over the world on some of the very extensive overseas tours they did, we have to say, before COVID set in, and which I'm sure they'll be doing again.
Indeed, I think they're going to be on their travels again in the next few months. But they've certainly, to my knowledge, have been to China 3 times.
Hey, where have you been, Oliver? Yes, we featured that a little bit earlier. Little and Large, that was on earlier.
For the bridge opening.
With the scale model, the 40% scale model, introduced by the pilot as well.
Outstanding level of performance they offer.
And also the full-sized aircraft as well. That was all on just a little bit early. If you'd like to see it, all you got to do, rewind the video, you'll see it.
Here, aren't there? Lots of top-level acts, but there isn't such an air show scene in those countries.
But right now, though, it's all 4 displaying together.
Take some of it for granted. We just shouldn't do it. But when you take a group like the Global Stars overseas, the Chinese, the response was phenomenal. The crowd lined up, just stand and applaud as they come back in. And they were doing 2 or sometimes 3 performances a day for different TV slots, and it was relentless in hot weather. But they soldier on.
Very experienced glider pilot Chris Heames, as Mark rolls around their smoke trails. Watch the rejoin. Straight into box again. And that's an excellent example of the sort of management that's required by the leader of a formation, isn't it? To enable the boxman to get so smartly back into formation.
Well, they don't call him leader for nothing. He does lead the team and puts everything where it should be, flying perfect speed for the other guys to fly on and around him.
Also on the messages, hi to Gillian Peter from over there in Boston, Lincolnshire. Also, good afternoon to Stas Aviator. And what it is, basically, you're with Stu Bear from Airshow World, live from the studio, and just looking back at the little Grandstand Airshow from last August with the brilliant Global Stars. Oliver, this was the very first time that I've attended
The
Little
four-ship now
Grandstand.
coming in for a loop.
I literally went as the paying customer and loved it so much that I'm definitely going to be there next year.
Looping once more. Showing the roll rate and the turn rate of the extra there as they pull out to come back onto the display line. Pulling up in unison. Smoke on. Continual smoke this time rather than dotty. And there's the double heart. That was the 2021 Global Stars. And because this is a team whose members are based at various locations around the UK. It's a pleasure to have them all here. The oldest cyclist in the whole world.
Now they're going to turn and charge towards each other. Now cast your eyes up to, and they're braking. Wonderful. There's Nigel Lemon bringing up the rear in that rare Moth Major with a half Cuban. Now the team will put themselves into two opposing lines and they'll do the multi-cross. So it's just like that pairs cross you saw a moment ago, except this time there are between 4 and 5 aircraft to miss.
Very good, and indeed a delightful conclusion to our flying programme here at Little Grandstand for 2021. Certainly I think he's one of the biggest flying programmes ever seen at this venue. I think this has been the biggest from a pure numbers perspective, and we were very proud of what we've managed to put on the programme today. But what I would like on there is
You're almost right there, Mac Cat Lady Stu Bear. Are you going to be hibernating now for the winter? I think so, yes. So that probably means twice a week you'll be looking out for some afternoon shows. So certainly look out for them. Normally on a Monday or a Tuesday, around about 1 o'clock. So make sure you subscribe to Air Show World and get those notifications. Make sure they're working, and then you will know when the bear is actually live and bringing you all these shows, and we'll do our best for you.
Prince. That's me. How you doing? This is your royal ruler, Tony Prince, and hi there! Watching the Air Show World with Stu Bear.
Oh, yeah, of course, it's a Monday afternoon, and you are with Stu Bear in the chair. And I tell you what, the sun is actually shining right here at East Midlands Airport. I hope you've really enjoyed this afternoon's little bit of fun wherever you've been watching this, wherever in the world you are. Thank you for supporting Air Show World. Keep on watching, keep on enjoying all the great videos that we have out there. Over 1,000 different types of videos. Something for everybody. So keep on joining us. Don't forget, every Friday night, the Friday Night Live show from 7 until 8 o'clock. That's the 60-minute show. But that just about wraps things up for this Monday afternoon show. Hope you've enjoyed it. And we'll see you next time right here live on Air Show World with Stu Bear and the rest of the gang. Thank you and a very, very good afternoon.